I think it does lower dramatically the odds of a recession. Something from 45% were our odds pre yesterday down to about 25% today. Two, we're going to raise our GDP forecast slightly as a result. Not strong growth, but a little bit better than what we had, and keep the unemployment rate pretty tame. It seems like it's all about tariffs, but I would highlight it's more than just about tariffs. One, it is also about getting clarity on tax legislation, which we're going to see as we go through the summer. Two, it's more and more signs of deregulation, which are already happening. Those two things are really important, as are lower tariffs, are really important to small, medium-sized businesses. And so the tax cuts, the deregulation are going to be offsets to these tariff increases through the long haul. And then third, there's also a huge manufacturing renaissance theme that's been unfolding for 15 years by our count. And obviously, the tariffs are going to further increase the odds of more and more onshoring. So at the end of the day, net, we think this is a pretty positive scenario for the back half of this year, particularly the fourth quarter and into 2026. Things have changed. This has been very dynamic. It has not been a static analysis. And we didn't know on April 2nd that we were going to get China down to 30. And there's potentially downward pressure on that 30 if we can address the fentanyl issue. And fentanyl shipments in the United States have indeed declined sharply. So I would take the more positive view than your prior guest.
What about scarring is a term I heard a lot of this morning, Nancy. So some things you just can't unsay is how Mira Pandit put it.
It's like a bad fight. Right, in a relationship, there are things that you just don't forget. Are
our allies, I mean, you talk about reshoring, right? Supply chains are bound to move now that everyone knows you just can't trust this administration. You just can't trust this country as a business partner, as a steady business partner.
I'm not sure I would say you can't trust the United States. This has been a negotiating tactic. This has not been, and it's been certainly has come across very bullying. I would agree with that, but it's been effective. There is a case to be made that the Germans, for example, would not have increased defense spending had we not put them in somewhat of a difficult situation. And same for companies onshoring into the United States. We need these strategic materials to come to the United States, pharmaceuticals, technology, etc. They weren't moving. Well, actually, they did move. We saw what happened when you gave them a carrot with the CHIPS Act. Indeed, you did get semiconductors, but it was limited to that. So the tax legislation actually is going to potentially be a real boom to companies onshoring into the United States, in that you will get full CapEx EQP expensing and also the cost of the construction of the factory immediately instead of over 30 years. So I've traveled a lot internationally over the past month, and I appreciate what you just said. I certainly heard that a lot. But the United States is still the largest economy in the world, biggest consumer in the world. So increasingly, if you sell it here, you make it here.
Well, the biggest complaints, though, Nancy, that I've heard are not international or from big multinational corporations. The complaints and the concerns, really the fear that I hear, is from Main Street. It's from small and medium-sized businesses that, as we know, also do the bulk of hiring and the bulk of CapEx in this country. Those are the companies that just can't make it through 2 or 3 months of this kind of uncertainty, and a lot of whom are going to be filing for bankruptcy this year. So how do you deal with that hit on the economy?
Yeah, so I totally agree with you. The SMID space is a very small, medium-sized businesses are a really important part of this economy. They account for over 80% of the jobs in this country. It was one of the reasons why we were so concerned that we were going to go into recession with the egregious tariffs up until just this past weekend. So totally share that view. That's where you have to look at the whole picture. You do have, maybe China's tariffs do come down a little bit further. 10% apparently is the floor, and you get tax relief and you get deregulation relief, helping to cushion that SMID space from the higher tariffs.
Hey, Nancy, I am curious, can we be both a manufacturing hub here in the United States and be a really innovative high-tech country going forward? Can we be both? And I'm curious what kind of economy that together creates.
So again, what they're strategically looking for are these industries that we have to have in the United States, as we all learned during COVID. I don't need to review that. But I've written about the manufacturing renaissance actually for 15 years. It's been ongoing. And you need it to be able to hire a diverse group of people. People have different skills. Not everybody wants to work on Wall Street. Not everyone wants to go to college, and there's nothing wrong with that. So the key to the manufacturing renaissance or manufacturing in general is the economic multiplier. For every manufacturing job that's created, there have been 6 non-manufacturing jobs created. And again, we've documented this over the past 15 years. It has been unfolding, and these policies, particularly the carrot, particularly the write-off of your factory in the first year, will further onshoring here in the United States. It's yes, I mean, innovation drives factories today. Robotics, key. Software, a key in utilizing those innovations in factories.
I'm kind of glad you went there. Our own Steve Mann, who covers the auto sector, said, one of the things that we have overlooked is that all of the production, manufacturing, automation that China has done has helped it advance technologically in a big way. And it's something that we haven't been doing and missing out. What's the big risk?
By the way, those automakers that invested massively because they loved Trump's new version of the North American Free Trade Agreement, right? The USMCA.
Yeah.
They're paying the price for trusting him now, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Well, that's the thing.
That's the kind of uncertainty that's problematic.
Nancy, here's the thing. Boaz Weinstein of Saba Capital, right?
Saba, yeah.
Saba, forgive me. He has said the uncertainty genie is out of the bottle here with President Trump, that we're not going to really know. Things could change, make a 180. We know that. Do you still believe that we've got to be kind of aware of that, even if today feels calmer and more optimistic?
Absolutely. Again, this is clearly still a period of uncertainty, but there's going to be more clarity as we go through the year. And hopefully by 26, a lot of the uncertainty is gone. Clarity on tariffs, taxes, deregulation, and onshoring. It's not unusual for a new president to come in and shake the tree. We had it that first year under Reagan. Volcker was tightening aggressively. They were squeezing inflation out of the system. Reagan also wanted to cut taxes, which indeed he succeeded in doing, trim back government spending. He fired people. He brought in an outsider Greenspan to make Social Security solvent, which he did. We threatened the Soviet Union. He threatened Reagan. Reagan threatened Volcker. I started in the summer of 1981, and I thought maybe I made a mistake moving from Michigan to New York. But the people I worked with were very senior. They understood that the long haul for this was going to be a healthier economy. I'm just comparing the economic times. We needed a change back in 1981. We need a change in the economy today to broaden the growth in labor force participation for all types of people, all sorts of education. And you do that most clearly through bringing manufacturing back to the United States.
Now, I was going to ask about manufacturing because Ralph Schlosstein was in here the other day and he said, we peaked at like 20% manufacturing jobs in the 60s and 70s. Yeah. Now we're at 8%.
Yeah.
Right. Even if we get a lot of onshoring, maybe it becomes 8.5 or 9. But I love that you bring up Ronald Reagan, Nancy, because like most other people, I have a problem scrolling through social media all day long and I see all these clips. Reagan was a huge proponent of free trade. Reagan was a huge proponent of immigration. And since you started in 1981, how would you compare the Gipper to Donald Trump?
I am not comparing the men. I am comparing the economic times. And careful on that free trade idea. My colleague, Karina, actually discovered an article highlighting that Reagan negotiated hard with the Japanese to pull back sharply their exports of autos to the United States, which indeed they did. And the next thing you know, the Japanese were indeed some of the first foreign manufacturers to actually build plant in the United States. So I thought that was a very interesting tidbit.